to ask you for one thing. I want you to
let Sam Raimi direct Spider-Man 4.
What's going on, guys? I hope you're all having a wonderful day today. For those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Ty, and today in this video, if you can't tell from my sweatshirt already, we're going to be talking about Spider-Man, and more specifically, Spider-Man 4, a movie that, honestly, we've barely been getting any type of news for, but I wanted to just touch on a rumor that's sort of been, lurking in the shadows, that Sam Raimi, the director of the original Spider-Man trilogy, Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, might be coming back to Marvel Studios to direct Spider-Man 4, which, in my opinion, is a pretty exciting, thought-provoking rumor. So let's talk about it. Would that be a good idea if Sam Raimi came back to Marvel Studios to direct Spider-Man 4? Let's get into the details here. Like I already mentioned, Sam Raimi is the director, for those of you that don't know, of the original Spider-Man trilogy. He did Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3 with Tobey Maguire from, 2002 to about 2007. That's one of the greatest superhero trilogies of all time, if not the greatest. One of the greatest trilogies ever, I'd say, just period, in all of film. But then from there, Sam Raimi, he kind of fumbled and stumbled through a couple of other, mediocre films. Obviously, he started with Evil Dead, by the way, too, which I forgot to mention. And he's always had this very distinct style, this very unique vision that I appreciate. Kind of like a horror approach, a little bit of camp thrown in there. It's very entertaining. It's very different. It's Sam Raimi. You can tell when a film is directed by Sam Raimi. But then Multiverse of Madness came along about 2 years ago, pretty much 2 years ago from right now. I think that was May 2022. Sam Raimi was returning to Marvel Studios to direct Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. That's honestly very interesting, especially that it was going for more of like a horror approach with Scarlet Witch. Doctor Strange is going across the multiverse. This could be interesting. This would be Sam Raimi's return to the comic book movie genre. But unfortunately, for most people, because I'm more forgiving of this movie than a lot of people are, a lot of people did not end up liking this movie that much, But this is the issue that I feel like a lot of people don't understand. The Sam Raimi elements of that movie, whether it's all the creepy Wanda scenes or the monsters or some of the gore and just the campy edits, those are the Sam Raimi parts, and those are the parts that I think are the best elements of that film. But there was a ton of studio interference with that movie that was not on Sam Raimi. But of course, Sam Raimi being the director, he gets most of the blame. People are saying, no, Sam Raimi's not a good director anymore. He's washed, he can't make a good superhero movie. Look at how bad, I'm saying bad, quote unquote, because I really do kind of enjoy that movie, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was. But again, it wasn't really his fault. The faults of that movie are on Marvel Studios trying to jam, stupid cameos in there, even though I, again, kind of enjoy them. And also CGI, things like that. Those aren't Sam Raimi's fault. But getting into this, news here, like I already said, Sam Raimi apparently is in talks, or at least, is the top candidate to direct Spider-Man 4. Spider-Man 4, first of all, when I first saw that, I thought they were referring to with Tobey Maguire, like they're, bringing him back, they're doing another Spider-Man 4. That's a little bit confusing right now, but no, they're talking about the MCU Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland, of course, and it's a very interesting concept because there's pretty much a blank slate on this film right now. What I mean by that is, the way that No Way Home kind of left us off, they can do anything that they want. In a way, just like what they did with Kang, how after Loki season 2, you could kind of do whatever you want with Kang. You could get rid of him or bring him back. It was, sort of vague, it wasn't fully explained. That's kind of how it is going into Spider-Man 4. What I'm trying to say is basically they set themselves up nicely to where they have a blank canvas and they could do whatever they want. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about how Sony and Marvel have kind of been bumping heads recently about whether they want to make this a grounded story or a multiversal story. Bring back Toby, bring back Andrew. We're making this a huge cosmic type of story like No Way Home was. But in my opinion, I think it should be grounded. And speaking of that, do I think it would be good for Sam Raimi to direct this Spider-Man 4 film, if not Spider-Man 5 and 6 as well, making this a trilogy? The answer to that, in my opinion, again, we could all have our own opinions, is absolutely yes. He is the man to direct Spider-Man 4. There's not even a question in my mind about, should he, maybe he shouldn't. No, he needs to direct Spider-Man 4, and let me explain, okay? Again, even though I am more forgiving of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, that movie showed that he still had the sauce. And a main issue that I've had with Spider-Man Homecoming and Far From Home, a movie that I think is very bad, and No Way Home, is that they all lacked sauce. It sounds corny, but there's no other way to describe it. There is no sauce to those movies. Now that we have Tom, in, like I don't want to say a college setting, but maybe college. Again, it's a blank canvas, but he's in the city, he's broke, he knows nobody, his family's dead, Aunt May's dead, whatever. We can really go for a darker story here. Give Sam Raimi a chance to cook. Make it a little bit campy like that original trilogy. Sam Raimi knows his way around a Spider-Man story. It's not even just one of the greatest superhero trilogies of all time. It's one of the greatest trilogies of all time. There's a reason that even ignoring nostalgia, people love those stories so much. They're so near and dear to the Spider-Man comics. Even like the CGI for the year or whatever, it's great. But at the end of the day, it's not about the action. It's not about, the fight sequences. It's about the heart. It's about the story, and it's about the character of Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, it's not even just about Spider-Man. It's about Peter Parker. I love his Peter Parker. He's just this nice kid who's dealing with a lot of things on the personal side and dealing with a lot of things, of course, on the Spider-Man side, like, fighting villains and stuff. Where, as Peter Parker, he's just, I guess you could say fighting like the IRS or his landlord. But listen, at the end of the day, Sam Raimi knows how to direct a Spider-Man film. Give him the keys to this franchise and say, listen, we're just going to let you cook. We're going to let you do your thing. We're not going to restrict you on anything. Do your own thing. The only problem with that I would say, okay, maybe I understand, is that when Taika Waititi directed Thor Ragnarok, he had, his influence, his humor. Then for Thor 4, they said, okay, we're just going to let you have full creative freedom. That movie ended up being a joke fest and too stupid. He almost got too much creative control. The difference is that, and not trying to disrespect Taika Waititi, Sam Raimi's a vet. He has been making films for 40 years. He understands what he's doing, okay? And he's been, I guess you could say, making superhero films for 20 years, even though, he did have kind of a gap between the trilogy and Multiverse of Madness. But this is the thing. Sam Raimi, I believe in him. His style is so distinct. He's going to be able to cook up some awesome action sequences, a great character of Peter Parker, which is almost like a new character in a way, because think about it, he's not a kid anymore, man. He's like in his apartment and he's got to, pay rent. It's like the original trilogy. I want to see what he'd be able to do with this. And again, I understand that some people are like, you know what, let's give a new director the keys to the franchise and let's let them try to do their own iteration of Spider-Man versus having Sam Raimi came back because, he's already done Spider-Man. Why would we want him back? Would you rather have a 50% chance of having a good Spider-Man movie or a 90% chance? I don't care about, let's have a new director come in here. Marvel needs a hit with this film because I'm going to be honest with you, again, I'm not the biggest fan of the, home trilogy in the MCU with Spider-Man. I don't love Homecoming. I think it's a good Spider-Man movie. I like that they didn't do the origin thing because, he was introduced in Civil War, of course, but it's a bit childish, and I get it. They're in high school, but I do appreciate it. I think it's a good movie. Far From Home, I honestly borderline hate, and No Way Home, it was my most anticipated movie of all time. I loved it, but honestly, I think it's aged pretty poorly, and I think it's written poorly. I just don't like John Watts as a director. He is sauceless. Like I said, he is not a good director. I'm happy that he's not going to be directing, hopefully, Jinx, Spider-Man 4. It's really obvious that Sam Raimi just has this love and this passion for both filmmaking and the character of Spider-Man, and I have a feeling that he still has that passion inside of him, and that if Marvel said, hey, we want you to direct this film, it's basically a blank slate. We'll let you have your own creative freedom. Kevin Feige's not going to be, correcting things every 2 seconds, or anyone else at Marvel. You're going to make your movie. That would be great. It's unfortunate that he gets blamed for these things that aren't even his fault or whatever. He's literally one of the greatest comic book directors of all time. I love his unique style. I think that if he makes this movie and he makes it like the original trilogy a little bit, not copying it, but just similar beats, having his style in there, some people might not like it. Some people might think it's a little bit corny. Some people might think it's a little bit cheesy. But I think it's cool. I'd rather see a stylized MCU film than your run-of-the-mill, made-by-committee film. It's annoying. I'm sick of it. I don't want some MCU formula type of movie. I want a unique Spider-Man film that's going to be good. I want saucy fights. I want a cool villain. I want one-liners. I want Peter to be this person who's almost like, a wholesome person where you're like rooting for them. And I just want a Spider-Man movie that feels like there's a living, breathing person behind the camera making this movie and not a studio making it. Listen, at the end of the day, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Sam Raimi knows what he's doing here. He's a capable director. Give him creative freedom, and I promise you this will end up being a great film. Guys, that's going to just about, resolve my thoughts here. I really hope he ends up directing this film. He's definitely my number one. I know that he was in talks also to direct Secret Wars possibly, which would go even harder, but, we'll see where things go. But guys, thank you guys for watching this video. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.